With everything that's going on in the world today, one may question, how can you feel safe in a world where war is an option on the table all the time? The problem is complex, but I'll try to cover at least a few key themes that might help us find some light in these times of chaos and complexity and try to find our way forward. The first thing that comes up is, how am I supposed to feel safe in a world like this? And it's a relevant question. You can't brush under the rug. Is the world a safe place? And the other thing that comes up is that if you are in a safe position for now, then you feel survivor's guilt, like, I'm safe. Well, what about all these people that are suffering? And the combination of these two things sets us into motion. We want to do something, but we don't know what to do. So the question comes up, what can I do in this situation? You feel like I must react, I must respond. And this is when it's very nice to turn to the Bhagavad Gita, because that's what it's meant for, to guide us in times of darkness, to guide us in times of turmoil, inner conflict. Like, our textbooks prepare us for how to survive in this world, how to make money, how to kind of make a name in this world, but how to survive difficult circumstances, survive challenging times, to find courage in challenging times. That is what Bhagavad Gita helps in. And when you look at it from that perspective, the first thing that comes up is to not get into the detail of the situation. And that's the trap we often fall for. They say devil's in the details. We get into the detail. You did this and that side did this. We try to justify the whole thing. Which side did what and which side do we think is right? And then we team up with people who agree with us, and we stand out against people who don't agree with us. So we just really get into the detail, and we're trying to make sense of that situation. It is a response. It's a valid response. We're trying to make sense of that whole situation. Our attempts to make sense of that whole situation, we're trying to see truth in piecemeal, like in a little detail. While the devil's in the detail, the way forward is not in the detail. The way forward requires us to come to a higher platform. Look at the situation from a very holistic perspective. That what is the nature of this world? When there's war, when there's conflict, when there's such violence going on around us, predominantly it is mode of passion and ignorance in the atmosphere. It's affecting everybody, including you and me. And it's very important in this time when there's passion and ignorance predominant everywhere, that we do not take shelter of those modes. We do not respond from a place of passion and ignorance. We actually have to make a conscious choice to respond from a place of goodness, from the mode of goodness. And that requires effort. It isn't something that just naturally comes. What happens is, when you respond to passion and ignorance with passion, it generally pulls you down. It brings you further down. It takes you down and down into a pool that's actually a bottomless pit. The only way out of it is to take shelter of the mode of goodness, which actually brings you out of this whole rut that we're stuck in. So number one, do not respond to passion with passion or ignorance. Number two, we tend to get into the detail in these situations, like, whose fault is it? We have to blame somebody, because when we blame someone, we feel like we're doing something with our lives. And so you really want to get into the blame game, like, find the details, figure out, have discussions about whose fault is it, who's wrong, who's right. And it is true, the devil's in the detail, but peace, happiness, progress is not in those details. Peace, happiness, progress, those things that we so deeply cherish, we need to rise to a higher level to see it. We cannot see it in this way. And rising to a higher level means, take a little bit of a macroscopic view. See, like, this is one conflict, but look at the world around you. There's conflicts going on everywhere. It's just the atmosphere of this world right now. And then you'll see, like, you may think it's the atmosphere of the world right now, but actually, if you think about it, it's been the nature of this world for a very long time. It's not that war started today. It's not that conflict started today. It might be hitting the news channels today. We might be reacting to it today, but it is the nature of this world that it's a dangerous place. This is why the yoga texts say, padam, padam, hi vipadam. At every step, padam, padam, at every step. It's not saying at every mile. It's not saying at every 1,000 miles. It's saying every step there is danger in this world. That is the very nature. That's the very construction of this world. So in this kind of a situation, what will you gain from figuring out whose fault it is? And even if you figure out whose fault it is and you blame someone for it, what would you do with that? What would we achieve from that? Even if justice prevails, But still, what do we gain from that? The world, if this danger goes, the next one comes over. So the yoga texts say, practice detachment in this world. How do you practice detachment? It's not that I'm going to close my eyes and I don't care about everybody. No, you practice detachment by becoming attached to the Supreme Lord. And this is my last point, my third point, that in these times are very powerful, very potent times for us to turn to inner development, self-development, really understand that if we want to rebel, if we want to fight, if we want to say like, this is not just, don't fight against a tiny person or 10 tiny people or some system. Fight against the entire material existence. This entire material existence is designed like this, that one problem will go away, another one will come. So, so if you really want to use your passionate energy to fight ignorance of the self, that's where there's hard work. Blaming people doesn't achieve anything. You can blame someone, you can find someone to put the fault on, and you can put that person to trial and punish that person and everything. But then what? Someone else will come around and create a problem. It's the nature of this world. Unfortunately, this is the state of our minds right now. This is a very good time to quit being frivolous, to kind of realize that, wow, time is limited. Things can change at any time. So let us use this time in the best possible way. I don't know, like we're kind of like scavenger souls walking through this world where we can see debris everywhere. We can see burnt out forests. We can see so much death and damage. And like scavenger souls, we're going and looking for little trinkets of happiness and being like, oh, I found a little shiny piece. I'm going to be happy with it. Stop being scavenger souls. Actually see the world for what it is and use the time we have wisely. Don't try to use your time to just buy a moment of happiness. Happiness and distress comes on its own accord. Our time is meant for something more precious. And the best thing I would recommend in times like this, build your community for spiritual advancement. Start with who you have. Maybe you have a family member around you. Maybe you have a neighbor. Maybe you have a friend. Get together and actually think about self-development. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Matchata Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Bhasparam Kathayanta Srimam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha, that my devotees, those who love me, they're always together, congregating together. And what are they doing? Matchata Madgata Prana. They're thinking about me, their consciousness is fixed in me, and they're talking about me. And in doing so, in discussing about the Supreme and our connection with the Supreme, Tushyanti cha ramanti cha, they're feeling full satisfaction, Tushyanti, and ramanti, they're feeling the highest kind of pleasure. So this is not a good time to go shopping and deal with your problems. This is a good time to reflect inwards. This is a good time to connect with people who are spiritually progressive and work on self-development. Actually, if you think about it, in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is in the same kind of predicament. He's at the beginning of the battle. He's sitting there and he knows he can win this battle. He knows but he understands war is going to get no good to anybody. And he's really lamenting and he's frozen. So it is a difficult situation. It is a difficult situation to be in. But at the same time, in the middle of the battlefield, right before the battle's gonna start, Krishna chooses to spend 90 minutes, like an hour and a half, just discussing the wisdom of the soul, really helping him lift his consciousness from where it was to the spiritual platform. So really good time right now to introspect, to self-reflect, and try to really rise ourselves. And this is why the yoga texts, they start from the aphorism, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, therefore now is the time to inquire. This is a perfect time to make spiritual advancement. This is a perfect time to think about the purpose of life. This is the perfect time to think about the uncertainties in this world. And then understand that, oh, maybe I'm not from this world. Maybe there's a different reality I belong to. Then ask, and the wise people, the saintly persons, they ask in the yoga text, one question that is asked is, Keami, Keamar Jareta Puttarai. I don't know who I am. I want to know who I am. Keami. And Keamar Jarota Puttarai. What are these three miseries? What are these different kind of miseries that are always burning me up? So these are important questions of life, and times like this force us to ask those important questions. Actually, the author of the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada, when he first met his teacher, it was that kind of a situation. India was under the British rule, and the mood was that we want freedom, we want independence, and everyone was fighting. And so when his spiritual master first told him that, okay, there is something more important than this, which is developing your eternal position of service to Krishna, to understand Krishna consciousness and share that with everybody else. He was thinking, yes, that is true, but first we need to be free, otherwise who's going to listen? And at that time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he insisted that the most important thing is bhakti, the most important thing is Krishna consciousness, the most important thing is our connection with the Supreme. The most important thing is our connection with the Supreme. We can't bypass that reality. So yes, hard times make us feel like we need to react, and that's like the worst thing we can do. The best thing we can do is use that time to really advance spiritually.